Greetings YouTube users. This video will illustrate how to load the VExpression and the Balance VExpressions limited kits into your Roland TD-50X module. The first thing you want to do, and I won't show that here, it's in the manual actually, is to format an SD card, preferably 32 gigabyte, in your Roland TD-50X module. Once you've done that, go ahead and make a backup of all of your settings, because you may need them and you probably will have to install some of those kits again. So please do that before going forward. And before I continue with this illustration, one other point is, I don't know about you, but I do like to label my cards. So in case I have 2 or 3 laying around, I don't have to go shuffling them into SD card holders to figure out what's what. Okay, with all those basics in mind, let's move forward with the tutorial. Okay, well, I'm at the Roland module right now, and I've moved the TDO file over into the backup folder on the SD card. Let's go ahead and insert this in here. Okay, that's nice and tight on the side. According to VExpressions, they had suggested to move all these levers down to the 0 positions. Okay, so I'm going to hit the SD card button on the top here. I want to back up all of my stuff, and upon doing so, I'm going to back up all by clicking the save, and that would be done with the F1 key on the top. So let's do that. And I've got today's date already in there. So this is going to be backup number 5, and the name of the file is backup November 26th, 2022. I do have some homemade samples in here. I do want to back those up. So all my settings and everything, including the samples, will be backed up to the SD card right now in the backup folder. And let's go ahead and hit the F5 button and get this backed up. Are you sure? Yes. I'm going to take the jog dial and move it over to OK. Then I will hit the enter button, and the backup of all my settings in the TD-50X is now being placed on the TD-50X labeled SD card that you saw a minute ago. Again, I do label the cards like that when I'm going to be reusing it over and over. I do have several SD cards and I don't want to get them mixed up. That's just a bit of a time saver for me. Perhaps you feel the same. Okay, so that's been completed. So now I'm just going to hit the exit button and get out of this. Go back to the main menu. We're back one step actually, and the next step is likely load. So let's say what the instructions say from VExpressions on how to load the Balance and Vault kits. Okay, before you load the Vault and Balance kits, one thing you probably want to do is go ahead and hit that trigger button. Once you hit that, make sure you're on the Bank tab and take a picture of all this stuff, because you're going to need to reset all of this once you load the Vault and Balance kits. I didn't do that, and so I had to go back and load my backup file, take a look at all my settings, take a picture, and I also wrote them down in my manual. Once you've done that, you'll need these two. Go ahead and click the digital button. Make sure all that lines up when you load the VExpressions kit. Next thing you want to do is hit the sensitivity. And on this one here, I'm on the hi-hat. You want to check all of them. And the best way to do that is once you see the first one, just go ahead and tap every pad. So I'm going to go ahead and tap a 10-inch tom-tom right now, which is the PDA 100. And you saw it change. Great. So now I've got a photograph of that. I'll hit the 12-inch right next to it. There's the PDA 12. And I'll hit the floor. And you can see that the settings change. Alternatively, if you haven't tweaked any of those things, you could just simply hit the default button by pressing F5. Okay, the one I'm most concerned about now is the hi-hat. Let's take a look. So I'm going to press F4. And these are my settings for the way I have my hi-hat set up. So if you tap that hi-hat tab right there, take a look at your settings, and you're going to want to again take a picture and then deploy those same settings if you want to once you load the vault and balance kits. So I would do all of that before you load the VExpression kits. Okay, so I'm back on my main screen and I'm ready to go. By the way, if you're wondering about that Talk, that's a drum kit I designed to match with the 80s band Talk, but I won't get into that here. All right, I'm going to hit the SD card button at the top, and we're going to go ahead and load the VExpressions kits. Okay, if you haven't gotten to that screen, make sure you do. Hit the up and down arrows. You're going to want to go to load and hit the enter button on the TD-50X, and then go ahead and hit the down arrow button. My last backup was bank number 5 with today's date, November 26th, 2022. Of course, that's currently loaded. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go to bank number 12. I'm going to use the jog dial, and I'm going to rotate the jog dial until I see bank number 12. And there it is. There's the balance and vault kit. Notice I have the user sample box checked. I'm going to go ahead and hit the F5 button and load all this up. Here we go. Yes to that prompt, clearing the data. So currently right now I'm loading the balance and vault kits. It's going to wipe out all of my settings. If you haven't done so, make sure all of your sliders are on 0. That one on the right is a little bit higher than what I wanted, so that's about right. This loads pretty quickly. It's about 7 megabytes. And once that's done, you'll get the completed. The arrow button to OK, hit enter, and we're going to go to the trigger settings. Okay, so this is now a fresh setup of the trigger settings that are loaded with the balance and vault kits. So go ahead and go back to your photograph or your notes, whichever, or both, and go ahead and deploy all of those same settings in here, or set them up however you wish. But I would think you'd want to go back to your settings as they were. I'm going to do mine right now, and I'll be right back. By the way, here's the default load up with the balance and vault kits. Only a few of those items match my kit. So I'm going to go load mine right now. Or shall I say, alter those settings. There's nothing really to load. I'm going to go in and manually change all those settings to what they should be. So as an example, if you bought the VAD 706 kit, the kick drum should be a KD-222. So I'll be right back. Okay, so after all the kits are loaded, the balance and vault kit, you should wind up at kit number 70. And to prove this, I'm going to go back with the jog dial, and you'll see all the kits are blank. This is because Roland gives you 70 kits, or 69, shall I say. So these 30 are added if you wanted to go ahead and reload up the Roland kits. So let's take a look at the names. Noble and Cooley, Schleichmann, Sonar, GMS SE, Pearl, Premier, Ludwig, Tama, Revelation, kit number 79, Brady, 80 is Gretsch, 81 Slingerland, 82 is Rogers, 83 is Eames. I've never heard of this one. Cool, excited. Here's a kit from France, Asba. There's a DW Exotic kit, number 85. Leedy. Ah, that's the one that blew me away. Used to have a Fibes kit a long time ago. Anxious to play that one. Lignum. Kit number 89 is Aote. Mapex. Trixon. Spawn. Black Beauty. WFL. Not familiar with this one. Prec Drum Company. There's a Yamaha custom kit. Sakai, maybe that's a Japanese kit. And this one looks exciting. A Remo kit with rototoms, 6, 8, and 10 inch on the rims of your drums. Kit number 99 is PV. And then kit number 100 is Elite Premier, and that is the end. So I'm going to back up all of these kits individually, then reload up my original backup file, and load these 30 kits on the tail end. That way I can swap them out as I want. I have individual kits from the original Roland factory default, by which I've modified with sub-instruments and so forth. So now I get to pick and choose between these 30 and the previous kits I had designed, and of course the default Roland kits. More to follow. So I'm back on the first Vault and Balance kit selection. That's kit number 70, Noble and Cooley. And my plan now is to back up each one of these kits individually. And if you've not done that before, just go ahead and click your SD card button. And you want to scroll to the right menu. So if you're reaching this menu here, just go ahead and hit the down arrow and go to One Kit Save. At this point, go ahead and hit the enter button. And it tells you, do you want to back it up with the sample data? Yes. Kit number 70 to my SD card, but I do not want to overwrite my custom kit number 1. So I'm going to hit the down arrow, and I'm going to find a vacant bank. So I think I've got about 30 in here. These are all my individual banks that I've created and modified kits. So I'm going to go ahead and save this right now. And I'm just going to hit the enter button. Whoops, not the enter, the F5 in this case. You sure? Yes. Enter. Okay, so that's done. So now the Noble kit from the Vault and Balance VExpression series is backed up to bank number 31 on my SD card, and that is a separate kit altogether. So I can load that anytime I want, delete it from the TD-50X menu, and I've got much more flexibility right now. So I'm going to do that with the rest of them, and I'll be back in a little bit. Well, here's another tip for anyone who has expanded their 506 or 706 Roland kits. As you can see in my situation, I've got the original 10-inch tom, 12-inch tom. I've added 2 other ones. These are the PDA 120Ls. Now when you load up the kits in Vault and Balance, you're not going to find that those alignments are correct. In fact, this is auxiliary number 2 for me. That was demonstrating a cymbal sound, and auxiliary number 3 was actually demonstrating a high-end tom sound. So what you basically want to do here in this situation is, once you have your 30 kits loaded, you're going to want to make some changes. Let me show you how I opted to do this. Okay, at this point, to make matters even simpler, you can see I've got some yellow tags on the 4 drums. I don't have anything on the floor tom. This is really what I'm concerned about. So tom 1, tom 2, that's a 12-inch. Auxiliary number 2 would be the 3rd tom, and auxiliary number 3 is the 4th tom. So let's take a look at the Roland module real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and tap auxiliary number 3. That was the 4th tom. And let's see what this alignment by default is. Okay, so that 4th drum is an 8-inch. Obviously too high to have on the right-hand side of a right-handed drummer kit. If I tap tom 1, that's 10-inch. Tom 2 is the 12-inch, and that auxiliary number 2, which is that 3rd one, That's actually a symbol. So all those need to be fixed and put in a roller coaster type of order. So I'm going to proceed to show you how I do all this, and I do hope that this helps you. Okay, so right now I'm going to be modifying kit number 75. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit the shift button down here, which is on the TD-50X. I'm going to go ahead and hit SD card up on the top. And basically what I want to do is save just those 3 toms, right? Ideally, I want to have the 8-inch on the first tom, the 10-inch on the second, the 12-inch on the third, and then a modified 12-inch on the fourth tom. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the arrow key and go over to Pad Instrument. And I want to take my existing default drums for this kit and save those 3 toms so I can load them back in and place them in the order that is desired. So once you're on Pad Instrument, go ahead and hit Enter. And again, I'm on the Premier Genista kit. My goal is to make a copy of 3 of the toms, so I'm going to hit the arrow key over to Kick. I'm going to go ahead and use the jog dial, and the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of tom 1 into the tom 1 slot on user kit number 69. Now the reason why I'm going to choose number 69 is because it's not in use, so I might as well make use of an empty kit. Okay, so why don't we keep track just to make sure this is all correct. So I'm going to take tom 1 and I'm going to move it into tom 1 on kit number 69. Okay, here we go. I'm going to hit F5 to copy it. So tom 1 to tom 1. Hit the arrow key to say OK, hit Enter. Okay, that's copied from kit number 75 to 69. Simply go back up, go to tom number 2, then hit the down arrow key, go to tom number 2. Same thing again. I'm going to choose copy, which is the F5 key, and I'm going to copy kit number 75 to kit number 69, tom 2. Hit the arrow over to the right, then hit Enter. Okay, so 2 toms are copied. I basically have 1 more to go, but I need to make 2 copies of that. And if you're following me, I'm going to go back up to this kit, and now I'm going to go to auxiliary, you remember the number? 3. So that's the high tom. I'm going to make a copy to auxiliary 3 in kit number 69. Same exact position. Okay, there we go. Hit F5, arrow over, and hit Enter. Okay, so to confirm so far, we've got tom 1 to tom 1 in both kits, tom 2 to tom 2 in both kits, and auxiliary 3 to auxiliary 3 in both kits. And again, that auxiliary 3 was the 8-inch tom. So we've got 1 more to go. Actually, what I could do is not even make a copy of tom number 2 and just duplicate that when I bring it in. So let me show you how that's done. So now that we have the 3 toms copied over, we need to do them in the reverse order. So we're going to go over to kit number 69, which is right there, and we're going to go to tom 1. Actually, let's keep it on auxiliary 3 because that is going to go to tom 1 on kit number 75. Right, so that high tom, which was auxiliary number 3 now in kit number 69, we want to have that go to the Premier kit number 75 from kit number 69, and we're going to go from that auxiliary 3, which was that 8-inch tom, to tom number 1. Okay, there we go. Let's hit the copy button, which is F5. Say yes, enter. Okay, that's done. But I'd kind of like to see this, and maybe you would too. So right now what I'm going to do is exit out of that menu. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the instrument button. And I want to tap tom number 1. And let's take a look. That's correct. So that first tom is now the Jara Ply 8-inch. Let's go ahead and do the rest. I'm back at the pad instrument. Hit enter. We want to go to kit number 69. And the next one that we want to take from kit number 69, if you're following me, is tom number 1. Tom number 1 is going to go to the Premier kit tom number 2. Okay, so far so good. Hit copy. Move over to OK, hit enter. Okay, so tom 1 and tom 2 are in place on the Premier kit. We've got 2 more to go, and that's the auxiliaries. Now you can bypass this part if you don't have any extra drums laid out. Let's say you only have a 2 rack tom kit. You can skip the rest of this. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to that user kit. And then the last one would be tom 2. We're going to move that to auxiliary number 2. Which, if you remember, is this one right here. And we're going to make a duplicate of that and then modify the tuning on auxiliary number 3. So back to the menu. Tom number 2 is going to go to auxiliary number 2 on the Premier kit. Hit F5, copy, arrow to the right, hit enter. Okay, that's done. So I've got one more copy to do. We can pretty much leave this positioning where it is. I'm going to move that to auxiliary 3, and then what we're going to do is tune that drum so it's a little lower, so the whole roller coaster effect is in place, and then it will match up with the floor tom. Okay, so tom 2 once again, this time to auxiliary number 3. Hit copy. Arrow to the right, click enter. Okay, that's done. So now what we want to do again is tune up that last tom, and we're good to go. Be right back. Okay, let's double check our settings. So if I tap tom 1, this should be Jara Ply 8. If I tap tom 2, that went to Jara Ply 10. If I tap auxiliary number 2, that went to Jara Ply 12. And of course, if I tap auxiliary number 3, which is the last PDA 120L, that should remain the same, and it is, Jara Ply 12. So on that one, we want to, like I say, tune that down. I'm going to tap the floor tom right now. Let's see what that is. Keep your eye on that tuning, by the way. That's what we're going to try and work with. Okay, so we want to be on that last tom somewhere between a Jara Ply 14-inch 34 tuning and the 12-inch right there, which is a 43 tuning, which matches, of course, the other PDA drum, which is identical. So let's figure out how we're going to do this one. Well, after giving it a little bit of thought, I think perhaps what we should do is cut that tuning in half. So half of 43 is probably about 21. So when I tap, once again, this last tom, it's at 43. I'm going to bring that tuning down to about 21, which is going to be a lower tuning. And I think that should work. So unfortunately, I don't have the drums wired up so you can hear them here. But if you tried this on your end, assuming you had 4 toms, that would seem pretty good. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. That's basically how I modified the 4 toms that I had. Oh, and one other thing that you might want to consider is now that I'm satisfied with the changes, I'm going to go ahead and hit exit out. Now I've already made a copy of this default kit, but what I do want to know is when I make a copy of it now, I want to be able to see and know that my changes are in place. That default name doesn't work for me because I cannot tell the difference. So what I like to do is go ahead and hit the menu option here, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit the F4 button up on top to where it says name. And you might want to use the same naming convention. I'm going to use the down arrow key. I'm going to go over to the right. And right after the lower description, what I normally do is I will put my initials in there. And that helps me to know right away that that's a kit that I modified. So I'm going to place a G in here. And I don't want to lose my settings, which is why I'm going to make a copy of this modified kit. So, whoops. Okay, there we go. I'm going to hit exit. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit the SD card button up on top and make a copy of this newly modified kit that matches mine to the SD card. So I've got some recourse. So I don't want to go back up all. I'm going to hit the down button here. I want to do a one kit save. I'm going to hit enter. And the one kit I want to save is the one with the AG modification. If there's a sample in there, you want to hit the enter button to activate that. There isn't, that's fine. I'm going to hit the down arrow button and I'm going to save it to my SD card. Of course, you don't want to overwrite a kit that's already saved, so I need to pick a blank spot or the previous Premiere slot. So I'm going to scroll up with the jog dial and okay. So you can see the naming convention where I added AG. I saved the default kit, which is no use to me anymore. I want the changes. So I'm going to click the save button by hitting F5. I'm going to click OK and then enter. Great. So now all the changes I made have been saved to the SD card using the slightly modified naming convention with my initials. So if I ever have to pull that kit up again, I know that in fact it's not the default, but it's the one that I created. Anyway, I sure hope this tutorial helps you. Giving you some further tips, and that's it for about now. Have a great day and thank you for watching.